41 Chapter 41 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elora reached the battlefield, only to find puddles of water at places. It appeared as if it had rained recently as the ground was still wet. The water wasn't what surprised Elora. Instead, it was the body that was lying on the ground. Unlike the puddles of water in most of the places, there was only a puddle of blood around the body. Elora landed before the body and turned it around. Even though she already knew who it was based on the clothing, she still couldn't come to believe that this body really belonged to Rui. She gazed at the face of the body, confirming that it was indeed Rui. She is dead. Elora grimly stated as she checked the nerves of Rui. I can sense some dark aura. And the water here means that a battle took place here, possibly with a dark mage. Joan observed the surroundings. Even though she was shocked that Rui was killed, she focused more on trying to find who the culprit was. It looks like the battle took place not long ago. The one who did it shouldn't have gone too far. Elora didn't respond. She just sat with Rui in her arms, still in disbelief that she was killed. It was the first time a head priestess had been killed like this, and it was when she was accompanying him. A dark mage who is capable of killing Rui couldn't be weak. You think Lambard could be behind it? Lambard had no reason to kill her. Elora shook her head. This is the work of a dark mage. Maybe I was wrong that Rui went to kill the people who disrespected us. She probably saw some dark mage leaving the city and went after them, only to die herself. We can't let her killer go free. Joan, do everything possible to locate those people. You have complete authority. If you need, call more people from the church here. I want that dark mage to be found. Clenching her fist, she declared her command. She didn't want the killers to go free after what they did, no matter who they were. They had killed a Church of Water priestess. That wasn't a crime worth forgiveness, even for her. In a distant place, a dark figure watched the two ladies with the dead body. Looks like there's no need for me to take action. The dark figure disappeared as if it was never there. The maid once again appeared behind Lambard. What's the news? Lambard asked. The two have already killed the Mage of Water before Elora could get there. They weren't there by the time Elora got there. I see. Well, that was fast even for Lyra. It seems she is getting quite strong. Lambard rubbed his chin. I wonder how strong she will become if she did succeed in getting the ancestral staff. Chaotic times are ahead, but then again, chaos does bring many opportunities with it. I wonder how it'll play out. Lambard let out a calm smile as he stood on the balcony, gazing at the beautiful city that belonged to him. The city was known by the outside world as one of the most chaotic cities. Still, it looked really calm at the moment. Only the sweet whistling of winds could be heard from the balcony. Maya, can you hear anything? The maid stepped closer. Hear what? Close your eyes and tell me what you can hear. Other than your voice, I hear nothing. What can you hear, my lord? Lambard gazed at the clear sky. Hidden in the silence of the wind is the roars of a storm. Storm. Maya gazed up. The sky is clear. Lambard simply smiled as he walked back inside his room. Maya turned to follow him, slightly confused as to what Lambard was talking about, only to be shocked as a droplet of water fell on her head. She gazed up. More and more water droplets started falling. The sky that was clear until now was covered in clouds now as it started raining. The horse raced through the forest, carrying Gabriel and Lyra. Instead of taking the normal route, Lyra had suggested that they take a more unorthodox path since she had a feeling that it wasn't safe to take the normal route after killing Rui. Even though Rui had arrived alone to kill them, Lyra knew that it was inevitable that Elora was going to find out about what happened. You are really strong. After a long time, Gabriel commented. Throughout the journey, he was thinking about how Lyra killed Rui. Rui wasn't a strong mage, and she also had an advantage because of the holy prison of water, yet she was killed by Lyra. It was the first time Gabriel had seen Lyra use a proper spell and one as powerful. The spell even made him jealous to some extent. That was one of my strongest spells. I only recently unlocked it. It's the first time I've used that, and you are the first person who saw it and is still alive. Lyra chuckled. So, how was the spell? It was powerful. The dark mages are certainly strong. Not the dark mages but the holder of the grimoire. This spell isn't in any other book. Only the owner of the grimoire is able to use such a skill. I didn't even know about the existence of something like this until this spell became available. That was the advanced tier spell. It would be even stronger when you get the ancestral staff. If even then you can't kill the head of Church of Light, I wonder just what kind of person he is. My spell is powerful, but that doesn't make me invincible. The other rulers of elements also hold such powerful spells. Rui underestimated me. Because of the prison of water, she didn't see me call out the grimoire. That's why she died so fast. If it were Elora, it wouldn't be that easy. As far as the head of Church of Light is concerned, even I'm not sure what he's like. All I know is that he is called the strongest mage of a light. He is a really strange person who never leaves the Church of Light. In fact, I don't think anyone ever saw him, Lyra described the oddity. There are even some rumors that he never appears outside because he doesn't even exist. The rumors state that the Grimoire of Light hasn't selected anyone after the old head of Church of Light died of old age. People say that the Church of Light doesn't have a head anymore, and that's why they made up a story about a new head who doesn't leave the place. Unfortunately, no one knows what's the truth of the situation. The ruler of light who has never been seen before. Gabriel wondered. So if he really exists, no one knows what he looks like. That's right. Unlike other elemental rulers, the current ruler of light has never been seen before. There's not even a single portrait of him in circulation. How old is he said to be? Gabriel inquired. The old ruler of light died around 10 years ago. According to the Church of Light, the new ruler of light was selected shortly after. Unfortunately, no one knows how old that person was when he was selected. The Church of Light has been really secretive about it. 42 Chapter 42 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 5 days later, Lyra and Gabriel continued their journey to the royal city, only taking short breaks on the way. Along the way, Gabriel asked Lyra many things about the city since it was his first time going there. He wanted to know as much as he could about the city and things that he needed to be careful about. Lyra also didn't hold back in giving all the information she had. In fact, she loved talking. Before the arrival of Gabriel, she had no one to talk to. She used to be so silent that, at times, she even forgot what her own voice sounded like. Now she talked so much that she barely stopped. Lyra also taught Gabriel more about the grimoires and how the spells are unlocked. She even told him how a mage could strengthen their souls and advance to become a stronger mage. Gabriel absorbed every bit of knowledge he could since he didn't want to stay weak. His goals were bigger than that. He needed strength, and for that, he needed to know how to get that strength. So there are two ways for mages to strengthen their souls and to advance, Gabriel affirmed. At the moment, Lyra was sitting in the lead on the horse while he sat behind her with his arms wrapped around her slim waist, listening to her. That's right. The most common way is to use the soul crystals. It's the fastest way, but even it can't strengthen you instantly. If soul crystals could do that, every rich kid would have been an advanced mage by now. Soul crystals are expensive and rare. The rich can certainly afford them, but that doesn't mean anything. In the end, how much they can absorb from the soul crystal in a day depends on their own talent. Even with great talent, one can still take years to advance from a novice mage to an advanced mage with the help of soul crystals. I see. So that's no faster way than soul crystals. How did you become an advanced mage at such an early age then? Same with Elora. Why? As I said, even with great talent, it can still take years to make a small advancement. It's because their soul isn't strong enough to use more than one soul crystal a day. Talent and soul strength are different. Their talent allows them to absorb more of a soul crystal than the ones with weak talent, yet they also share the same limitations. They can't use more than one soul crystal without harming themselves. But there are also a different category of people which is quite rare. And which category is that? The category of prodigies. They are also the ones who are most sought after by the churches as their advancement is the fastest. Lyra explained. Hearing her words, Gabriel remembered that the head priest of the Church of Light had also called him a prodigy when they met. He thought it must mean he was talented. But there seemed to be more to it than just that. Category of prodigies. Yeah. They are rare but also not impossible to find, Lyra answered. There are two types of prodigies. One is called the talent prodigies. They are really talented in magic. They can awaken their element at a really young age and also have an easier time learning to use the spells. They can also absorb the most amount of soul energy from the soul crystal. In fact, some talent prodigies can even absorb 100% of a soul crystal, which is quite rare. The second type is also really important. They are even harder to find than the talent prodigies. They are called the soul prodigies. Soul prodigies. What can they do? While the talent prodigies go for quality over quantity, the soul prodigies go for quantity over quality. Their souls are much better, and they can use more than one soul crystals in a day. Even though they can't absorb most of the soul crystal energy, by absorbing from more than one, they progress really fast. So they are the ones who have an advantage in the race to become stronger compared to others. Exactly. Their strength gain is faster than their peers, but only if they can afford soul crystals. That's why most of these prodigies pledge their allegiance to rich mage families in exchange for these resources. The families get talented mages while the mages get the support they need. You'll see quite a lot of that in the academy. Just be careful from these families. I forgot to mention that there is also another type of prodigy which is so rare that only 10 or so are discovered in a year. And they are called double prodigies. They have the best of both worlds. They have peak-tier talent and a powerful soul. Those people don't even need to work with any mage families. Instead, the great families fight amongst themselves to be in the good books of such people, since the double prodigies are directly supported by the holy churches. Which of the prodigy are you then? Gabriel asked. From Lyra's explanation, he understood that one needed to be a prodigy to progress this fast, so she had to be one as well. What do you think? Lyra asked. A smile graced her lips which Gabriel couldn't see since he sat behind her. Soul prodigy. You seem like someone who would have a strong soul. No. Talent prodigy then. You're wrong again. I'm none of them. I wasn't born a prodigy. Let alone that, I wasn't even talented in the least. My talent was literally the worst. Then how did you? Lyra grabbed the right hand of Gabriel, which was resting on her stomach, and started sliding his hand up. For a moment, Gabriel was so stunned, he couldn't even react to ask what she was doing. Lyra placed Gabriel's hand on top of her pendant. It's because of this. Your grimoire. That's right. The only reason I advanced this much is because of this. As soon as the grimoire of darkness bonded with me, it changed my life. It improved my talent, bringing it to its peak. It also strengthened my soul. I'm sure it's the same for all sacred mages who hold the grimoires, even you. Even me. Gabriel gazed at the black ring on his hand. Just how many gifts did this grimoire give me? It gave me my life, gave me an element, gave me one of the most powerful magical staff in existence, gave me spells, and now this. Yeah, I am sure you were a talent prodigy since you awakened an element at such a young age, but as soon as the grimoire bonded with you, it increased your talent even more. So you should be able to use soul crystals as well. Do you have any soul crystals on you? Gabriel asked Lia. Of course. I've robbed quite a few in my time, Lia calmly answered, not thinking much of the question. Why didn't you tell me before? Gabriel frowned. We have been traveling for days. If I had absorbed a few, I could have gotten stronger. You can't use the soul crystals now, and why is that? Because you need to enter the Academy of Elements. You'll have to become a student there and face an entrance trial. The exam is easiest for novice mages who have just awakened their elements. If you stay the way you are, you can qualify for novice entrance exams. It'll give you faster and easier access to the academy. Lyra explained the reasoning behind her actions so Gabriel wouldn't misunderstand her. She slowed down her horse and got down. What happened? This is as far as I can accompany you without bringing trouble to you. We are close to the royal city. You can get there in 10 minutes. You'll have to travel on your own from this point. Lyra pointed straight ahead. Gabriel also noticed a city in the distance. It was so far that it looked really small, yet Gabriel knew that it was a massive city in reality. He was almost at the royal city. The city where he was supposed to steal something so precious that it was said to be impossible to steal. It was also the city where Maya and Horan were hiding. 43 Chapter 43 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember. You have 7 days from the moment you enter the city. After that, the Ring of Apophis will stop working, and it'll go back. So no matter what happens, don't forget the time limit. I know I have 7 days to get in and get out. I won't forget. Gabriel was reminded about this time limit, but he also realized why it was the case. This time limit was one of the most important things for him. As soon as the time limit was up, his transformation was going to stop, and he was going to return to his old self, which was dangerous. Can I go now? Even though it was risky to enter the city, Gabriel was also somewhat eager to get inside. He wanted to see what the city he had always dreamed about looked like from the inside. He wanted to enter the academy and meet his old friends and foes. Everything else came later. Not yet. Before you go, I have something for you. Shadow storage. Lyra chanted a spell. A shadow came out of the ground, this time belonging to herself. The shadow stood without moving. Lyra inserted her hand inside the shadow, which appeared to swallow her hand as Gabriel couldn't see the hand anymore. By the time Lyra pulled out her hand, there was a small cloth bag in her hand. The shadow disappeared. She stepped a bit closer to Gabriel, extending her hand. Here. Take it. What is in it? Gabriel gazed at the small bag, which appeared to have something. The soul crystals. Since you're a novice mage with a grimoire, you should be able to use around 5 of such crystals in a day without hurting your soul. This bag contains around 50 soul crystals. You can use around 30.5 of them in a week. You'll be there. As for the other 15, you should be able to sell them in case you need money or use them for any number of transactions. Keep them with you. But remember, don't use any of them until you clear the trial and get inside the academy. If you do, you'll be shifted into a different category of trials. Lyra, you've never entered the city, have you? How do you know so much about the academy then? Who says I've never been there? Lyra smirked. You said the barrier had been around the city for over a century at least. You certainly don't look older than 100. Are you? Hearing the confusion of Gabriel, Lyra couldn't help but smile. Her smile was so beautiful that momentarily, it even stunned Gabriel. It was the first time he had seen Lyra's smile properly. He found that smile really beautiful, especially the way it complimented her. Why are you looking at me like that? Lyra tilted her head, noticing Gabriel looking at her oddly. Your smile is really beautiful. Gabriel's compliment came so naturally that even he hadn't realized how effortless it was, probably because he didn't give any ulterior motives behind that compliment. He just said what he noticed. Seeing Gabriel compliment her, it was Lyra's turn to be stunned as her lips parted slightly. Was that a compliment or sarcasm? After a long time, she asked. No one ever said that my smile was beautiful. After all, who would find a demon's smile beautiful? All I've seen in people's eyes in my life was hate and disgust. You are not a demon. I've seen the real demons of this world. They hide in plain sight in the cover of light while calling others demons. They are the real demons, and this world is filled with them. We aren't the demons. I'm not one, and you certainly aren't one. It's not demonic to fight for yourself when you're being persecuted for no reason at all. Gabriel had been with Lyra for over a week. He believed he managed to understand her quite well. Lyra wasn't like anyone he had seen before. She didn't hide her bad side. She wasn't scared, and she certainly didn't hide behind fake morality for her actions. Lyra was more true to herself than anyone he had seen. She didn't worry about what others would think of her. She didn't try to make a fake good impression. She killed people when she needed to, she let them live when she needed to. She even argued with Lambert even though she needed his help. She was a really genuine person, from what Gabriel had noticed. There were many who called her devil because of her elements. There were many who judged her for taking lives and killing people, but did those people really have a right to judge her? Those same people cheered for her when thousands of mages destroyed the Church of Darkness. Those same people cheered when innocent mages who awakened with dark element were killed simply for existing. Those same people were the ones who weren't going to hesitate even a single second to take a life as long as it benefited them, as long as it justified their moral conscience. Gabriel didn't believe that those people were fit to judge anyone. If Lyra's taking lives was wrong, then all the holy churches of elements were wrong. Then all those people who supported her actions were wrong. Then this entire world was wrong. Gabriel. Lyra called out, hearing Gabriel's words. Yeah. Gabriel gazed in curiosity. Thank you. For what? For everything. Remember, you must come back safely. You think I don't want to? Gabriel rolled his eyes. I'll finish the mission and come back with the ancestral staff. Even if you can't get the ancestral staff, come back if you believe it's dangerous for you. I don't want you to die there. Keep your safety above everything else. Initially, Lyra was more interested in the ancestral staff since that was the only thing that could give her a fighting chance in this war. For her, the goal was more important than even her life. Unfortunately, something had changed. Something had changed inside her because of Gabriel. After a long time, she had someone who understood her and stood beside her. The first time she had someone who not only didn't judge her but also was so nice to her. The thought of losing Gabriel made her scared since that meant she was going to be all alone in this world again. That thought was worse than the thought of not getting the ancestral staff. I'll keep that in mind. Gabriel nodded. Now, can I leave? One last thing I should mention. Inside that bag, there is also a small black stone. Whenever you're in danger and believe you can't get out of it, crush that small stone. What will it do? Gabriel asked. It'll alert me that you're in danger, and I'll get there to help me, Lyra explained. So keep that stone with you always, and don't lose it. But if you get there, won't the barrier mark your soul as well? You'll be put in harm's way as well. It doesn't matter. You're going there for me. It's only fair that I do something. As I said before, we are a team. So, of course, I'll come to help. Moreover, it's not that easy to kill me. Don't worry about anything. You can crush that stone without hesitation whenever you're in danger and need me. You understand? I will. Can I finally leave now, or there's more? You can leave. I wish you all the best, Gabriel. Lyra finally let Gabriel leave. Gabriel turned the horse to the city and left, occasionally glancing back. He had taken his first step toward his destiny, going all alone in the midst of enemies. 44 Chapter 44 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Advancing toward the royal city, Gabriel gazed back at Lyra occasionally, watching her stand in the same place. Before long, Lyra disappeared from his view. She had done as much as she could. From now on, everything rested on his shoulders. Gabriel tied the small bag he received around his waist before observing the beautiful city in the distance. A majestic golden dome appeared to be covering the city, which seemed even better the closer Gabriel got to the city. His first test was passing through the barrier undetected. According to Lyra, it should have been easier since his element wasn't the element of darkness that could be detected by the beautiful golden barrier. Even though Lyra was confident in that assumption, Gabriel was still somewhat wary since he knew that his element did share some similarities with the element of darkness. He pondered if he was going to be caught before he could even get inside. Fortunately, he also had his gloves which he placed his hopes on since they hid the aura of his element from being felt outside. He had decided that he was never going to remove the gloves as long as he was inside the city. At least not the right one. After finding a suitable place where no one could spot him, he stopped near the pond. He got down the horse, stretching his arms. Now was the time to decide on his new looks. He remembered the way to use the ring of transformation that was told to him by Lambard. He did everything as instructed. He closed his eyes after once again making sure that no one was there. He tried to visualize a person he wanted to look like. Since he didn't want to take a risk, he imagined a face that he had never seen before, so there was no risk of it matching with someone. Gabriel's long hairs became slightly shorter, even changing their color to a beautiful shade of silver. His eyes also transformed, complementing the color of his silver hair as his pupils became a lighter shade of silver. He didn't want to leave any remnant of his old self in his new look, not taking any risk this time. To be sure, he made one last change, making his skin somewhat paler as if he came from the land of snow. The transformation didn't take long either. The only time-consuming part of the transformation was imagining what he wanted to look like. Everything else was effortless and swift. After he finished his transformation, he moved closer to the pond, observing his reflection in the water. Just as he had expected, the ring worked all too well. He looked completely unlike his old self and just like he had imagined. He was sure that no one could recognize him now. He sat near the pond, cupped his hands, inserting them in the pond before splashing water on his face. After washing his face, he got back on the horse. There was only one path leading inside the royal city, and it was crowded at the moment. There were many carriages before Gabriel in the line, waiting to enter the city. Most of these carriages were being used as a mode of transport by youngsters who wanted to join the Academy of Elements. In the last few days, thousands of youngsters have arrived in the Holy City to take part in the entrance examination of the Royal Academy of Holy Elements from different parts of the nation. Every youngster dreamed of becoming a powerful mage, and the first step on that journey was getting selected for the Academy of Elements. The poor wanted to join the Academy to become powerful, learn spells, and most importantly, so that they could receive some resources from the Academy to strengthen themselves. On the other hand, the rich didn't lack the resources. All they needed were the skills and the name of the Academy behind them. If one could show their talent in the Academy, they had a great chance of succeeding in life, and it held true for everyone since many eyes remained on the Academy its toppers throughout the years. Even many head priests were previously students in the Academy itself before they reached the high positions. There appeared to be around 30 such carriages before Gabriel in the line, and each carriage was checked thoroughly by the guards before being allowed entry into the city, which was taking quite some time. It should take around 2 hours at this rate just to get inside. Gabriel made an assumption. 3 hours. A calm voice fell in Gabriel's ears. Gabriel glanced back, noticing another young man who was traveling alone like him. The crimson-haired man seemed to be in his early 20s, donning a beautiful silver robe on his back which didn't appear to be too expensive yet suited him very well. His beautiful violet pupils starkly contrasted his crimson hair, yet it seemed to suit him. As Gabriel observed the young man behind him, the man also observed Gabriel. Through Gabriel's attire, the man could feel that the young man before him was from a rich family, yet he didn't give any special attention to him. It was as if it didn't matter to him how rich Gabriel was or what his background was. "Did you say something?" Gabriel inquired. "Yeah. You were wrong about your assumption by an hour. It'll take at least 3 hours to get the queue clear." "Maybe." Gabriel didn't argue with the young man behind him. He casually glanced at the mark on the back of the young man's hand, noticing the mark of the element of earth. "So you're a mage of earth. Did you assume how long it would take after guessing how many people are before us, or there was a logic behind that specific number?" "It is just basic maths. It's not hard to guess the approximate number of people inside those carriages based on the extra weight. Most of these carriages are overloaded. From that it's easy to figure out an approximate number of people ahead of us, who will go through checking, and how much time it'll take in total before it's our turn." "And how do you know the extra weight inside the carriage from back here?" The man flashed his mark of earth. "I'm connected to the earth." It was only Gabriel who asked the man questions. The man, on the other hand, didn't ask anything. It was as if he didn't even want to attempt to get to know anyone. All he did was answer questions. "If you're right, then it's going to be a long wait indeed." Gabriel got off his horse. Since it was such a long wait, he didn't feel like sitting on the horse for such an extended period for no reason. "What is your name?" Gabriel asked another question. The young man also got down the horse, still holding the reins of the horse to keep it in place. "Alexei." Once again, Alexei didn't ask any questions. He didn't even care to ask the name of Gabriel in return. Despite not being asked, Gabriel introduced himself. "I'm Carrick." Since he was here undercover, he needed a new persona and a new name. For that, he selected the only choice he could think of. He selected the name of the first god of his element, Carrick, bringing the name back to life once again. Unfortunately, Alexei appeared to be completely uninterested. He simply nodded his head, ending the conversation. 45 Chapter 45 You are listening at novelfull.audio. With time, more and more people came out of the carriages as if a chain had been started by Gabriel. Before long, almost everyone was out of the carriages and talking a walk outside. Curious, Gabriel observed everyone, counting how many people there actually were before them. He was right. There were more people here than I expected. It'll take somewhere around 3 hours to get the queue clear. Gabriel glanced back at Alexei, who was standing with his hands behind his back as gentle winds brushed against him, seemingly lost in some thoughts as he gazed at the setting sun. Gabriel found the man really intriguing. The man talked to him. He wasn't friendly, but he didn't seem to be arrogant either. There was just something about him that was really fascinating, from his aura to his persona. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Alexei noticed Gabriel's gaze. "Do you want something?" "Just curious about your element." "Don't act like it's your first time seeing an earth mage." Alexei frowned. "Tell me straight what you want. You know you don't have to be so rude." Even though Gabriel was curious about Alexei and how he was connected to Earth without using a spell, it was still too much for someone to talk to him like that. There are many things in this world that don't need to be, yet they are. The young man vaguely answered before he brought a book out of a bag. He opened the book as if signaling to Gabriel that he was busy and that he didn't want to be distracted. Gabriel rolled his eyes. He also stopped talking to the young man. Throughout the next 3 hours, the two men didn't talk to each other. Gabriel just waited in silence as the queue moved ahead slowly. After close to 3 hours, finally most of the queue was over, and it was Gabriel's turn. This was the moment of truth where he was going to get an answer if he could fool the barrier or not. Both his hands were still covered in gloves that only revealed his fingers. To get to the guards, he needed to first pass through the barrier. Holding the reins of his horse, Gabriel took a step forward. His body touched the barrier. He didn't even face the slightest resistance as he passed through the barrier. It was as if the barrier wasn't even there. Two guards approached Gabriel after he passed through the barrier, finding a notebook in their hands. Entry number 893. State your name. Carrick, Gabriel answered. He had already practiced this name with Alexei. The name came out naturally from his mouth without any hesitation on his face. The guard wrote down the name. Age? The guard asked. 20, Gabriel lied, hiding his actual age of just 18. Purpose of visit? To take part in the Academy of Elements exam. The guard wrote down the reason, not even surprised. It was expected, as almost every youngster who came here in recent days was here for the same thing. Element? The guard lazily asked. Light, Gabriel answered. He noticed that the guards finally appeared to take some interest in him. You got a really nice element, kid. And at such a young age of 20. You're fortunate. One of the guards smiled at Gabriel. You'll need to show us your mark as evidence. Another guard stated. Gabriel took off his left glove, showing the mark of light. The guard wrote element verified on the book before glancing at another guard. The second guard stepped forward and placed a small badge on Gabriel's chest with a few numbers written on it. The guard further explained. This will be like your permit to be in the city. It'll only be valid for 3 days. You can never take it off. If you pass the exams, you'll be given a different badge which will have no number on it. If you fail, you'll have to leave the city. You understand? Gabriel nodded. Got it. He was already informed about this process before. Since it was a royal city, they couldn't allow anyone to enter and settle here without permission. Only the elitist of the elites were allowed to stay in the city. Everyone else was only allowed a temporary visit, and even for that, there was a really harsh checking. It was only during the academy exams that the checking was made somewhat lax for the youngsters. All the guards took a few steps back. You are clear to enter. Best of luck for the exams. Gabriel got on the horse, finally being free to enter the city. He was finally here. The royal city. The city that was the base of the Holy Church of Light. He had taken a step toward his destiny. It took him the entire day to get inside the city, but he was finally here, being basked in the moonlight. In another part of the city, a blue-haired girl sat on the roof of her house, gazing at the same moon. It wasn't long ago when she was sitting just like this with a young man. She was still the same. The moon was still the same. Yet the companion was home, being stabbed by her own hands. Are you really alive? Gabriel, she softly asked, gazing at the moon. Even if you are, you're forever cursed. You have become a vessel of darkness. I wish things were different. I wish you hadn't become one of them. Now you are also a demon of darkness. You will be killed even if you're alive before you can hurt any innocent. She didn't know how to feel about this. Her thoughts were so complicated at the moment. The only thing she knew for sure was that Gabriel wasn't the same as before. The kind and innocent Gabriel who wanted to fight for light was dead, being swallowed by a demon of darkness. She didn't want him to die, yet she tried to convince herself that it was good for this world since Gabriel wasn't who she knew. If you're alive, you must hate me a lot, right? Nav Om Maya talked to the moon as if she was talking to Gabriel himself. You probably want to kill me and my family for what we had to do. This is the one place you can never enter. You can never hurt me and my family here. You'll only be killed by the Church of Light faster if you come here, so please don't. Please stay away. Please stay safe. Please stay alive. Sometimes Maya felt as if she had gone crazy. On one side, she wanted Gabriel to be dead so the world could be safe, going so far as to try to kill him with her own hands. On the other side, she prayed for his safety and for his life. She knew that if he ever came before her, he was going to be killed, and she wasn't going to protect him. So she prayed that he stayed away from this city and stayed safe at least. Gabriel. I can't believe you came back from the dead. Back at the academy, even Horan couldn't forget Gabriel. Every time he remembered his father and his brother's death, he woke up cursing Gabriel. You bastard, I hope you are stupid enough to come to this city. Come here fast so the holy mages of the Church of Light can kill you and remove one more darkness trash from this world. You need to accept your death for your sins, come and let us give you your death. Come to your death, don't be a coward. While Maya was praying for Gabriel to stay away from this place, Horan was praying for him to come to this city. Even though both of them desired different things, none of them seriously believed that Gabriel was going to be stupid enough to come to this city. If only they knew. I am here, Gabriel muttered, gazing at the same moon. He arrived in the city where all his enemies were hiding. Also, the city where all his biggest threats stayed. 46 Chapter 46 You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was already late at night, and the exams were supposed to be the next day, so Gabriel looked for a hotel. As for the money, he didn't lack any as Lyra provided him with quite a lot of it in case he needed money. Moreover, even if he didn't have money, he had the soul crystals that could be used in place of money or sold. Along the way, Gabriel noticed many mages of light who had the special robe of the Church of Light, highlighting their high position. As the city hosted the main branch of the Church of Light, it wasn't rare to find the priests of light. Only the head priests were harder to find, roaming around the city. As for the head of the Church of Light, finding him was like finding a needle in a haystack. He was never seen even in the city. Glancing at the priests, Gabriel couldn't help but imagine what his life could have been if it hadn't changed this much on the last day of his old life. Even though it was close to midnight, the city appeared as lively as ever. It was filled with light. Not even a glimpse of darkness could be seen anywhere. There was a reason this city was called a city that never slept. Even now, hundreds of people could be seen in the city. Most of the shops were still open as well. I'll never find a hotel like this. I need to ask someone for directions. Gabriel stopped the horse near one of the shops and got down, approaching the shop owner. Excuse me. The shop owner noticed the attire of Gabriel, which made him appear like a wealthy mage. He also noticed the badge on his chest, meaning he wasn't from the city. Yes, young man. How may I help you? Are you looking for some items for your exams tomorrow? We did get some really amazing magic weapons in stock if you need. They are created by the Zoan family. Magic weapons. You are selling Newmans. Gabriel grew slightly surprised. Weren't Newmans supposed to be precious? How was this guy selling them? Or was he bluffing? Newmans. As expected, you're certainly from a wealthy family to know about Newmans. Unfortunately, no, I'm not selling Newmans. I've never seen a Newman myself. They are so rare to find that the ones who do don't even tell anyone, let alone sell. The old seller laughed out, hiding his embarrassment. A Newman may make an appearance once in a blue moon in some auction house, but even the weakest go for millions of gold coins. A poor seller like me can't even afford to buy one, let alone sell. Then what magical weapons you speak of? Gabriel asked with a frown. A magical weapon or a magical artifact is something that is reinforced by the spiritual energy, created by expert artificers. You can call them similar to Newmans yet way weaker than a real one. For example, a treasured sword can be more durable or sharper than ordinary swords. It might be really light while having all the weight and properties of a heavy sword. Or a treasure shield that could protect you from flaming attacks of mages of flames. There are many treasure items, and the Zoan family is an expert in creating them. Why don't you come in and buy some for your trial tomorrow? Who knows, you might need one. Since you're from outside the city, I'll even give you a discount. How about it? A sword. A shield. As a mage, Gabriel didn't believe he needed a sword. Moreover, even if he did, he could get it later. He wasn't here for an eternity after all. He was only here for 7 days. As for a shield to protect himself, he had the best shield in the world in the form of his first spell. Shield of Undead. Even though the old man was disappointed that Gabriel wasn't going to buy anything, he still told Gabriel the direction. He believed Gabriel was rich. Even if he wasn't buying anything today, he was still a potential customer in the future. Thank you. Gabriel thanked the old man before going back to the horse. He was just about to climb the horse when he heard someone yelling in the distance. The loud yell attracted his attention. Frowning, he gazed in the distance, noticing a group of youngsters beating up a young man. There were many people in the surrounding area, yet no one stepped forward to help the man. Even the guards didn't bother. Young man, I understand what you're thinking, but I'll advise you against helping. This city isn't one where you should do something like that. The old man's calm voice fell in Gabriel's ears. Why aren't the guards helping him? Gabriel inquired, confused. Isn't this city supposed to be better? Even if it's for pretension. Better. Heh, people give this city more credit than it deserves. Rules only apply to the poor here. You see the blonde man who is beating up the young man. Gabriel glanced at the only blonde man in the group. Yeah. Who is he? His uncle is a head priest in the Holy Church of Light. He's also part of one of the most influential families in the city, the Rainey family. They control most of the markets in the city and outside. They are also very close to the royal family, so the guards wouldn't interfere in whatever their young heir does. So you should stay away from the conflict, or you'll be in trouble yourself. Just go back to the hotel and rest. After these people are tired, they'll leave the boy. They won't kill him, but, moreover, you're here to join the academy, but Jan Rainey is already in his 2nd year in the academy. So avoid him. Gabriel took the advice of the man. He really didn't need to enter this conflict, especially if it could involve a head priest of light. That could be counterproductive. Gabriel climbed back on the horse and started advancing ahead, in the same direction as the group since that was the only way to the hotel. As Gabriel was leaving, not bothering to even help the young man, he stopped, gazing blankly in the direction of the group, noticing a young man he didn't before. It was only now that the man came into his view. Horan. Gabriel's fists clenched on their own. He saw Horan whisper something in the ears of the blonde man. The blonde man nodded in response before instructing another man in the group. The young man who was thrashed had his lips bleeding already. His clothes were covered in dust. Fortunately, he wasn't seriously hurt until now. Following the instructions of the blonde-haired man, a mage of wind in the group stepped forward, bringing his staff out before casting a spell. The bleeding young man's body started rising in the air. Both his hands and legs appeared to be tied by the chains of winds. Noticing the situation of the young man, Gabriel remembered his own condition back on the mountain. The same thing was done to him, making him unable to even react. He was sure this was the idea of Horan. He was still doing the same thing. He still hadn't changed. Gabriel had decided to avoid this conflict, but the more he gazed at the man hanging in the air, the more he saw his reflection in the young man. Turning his back on the man was like turning his back on himself, especially when Horan was present there as well. Biting his lower lip, Gabriel finally got off the horse, unable to resist. Even though his mind said he shouldn't do this, his heart made him unable to leave. He didn't want another person to suffer the same fate as him, especially because of his own enemy. The entire group surrounded the young man, laughing as if it was fun for them. Horan, since this was your idea, go ahead. The blonde-haired man lazily exclaimed. Make sure you don't go easy. I won't. Horan licked his lips, moving before the bleeding young man who couldn't even move his hands. You know, you remind me of someone. That trash was also like you. And since you remind me so much of him, I also hate you more for it. Since I can't hurt that bastard, I'll have to make do with you. 47 Chapter 47 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Horan smirked like the devil before clenching his fist. He aimed straight for the young man's gut, planning his entire strength behind that punch. Grasp Horan's full-powered punch was about to land on the young man's gut. Just before the punch could land, a hand came from nowhere, grabbing the wrist of Horan. Ha! Horan raised his gaze, observing the silver-haired man who dared stop him. Who the hell are you? Are you also looking to die? You dare stop me? Gabriel wanted to just shatter the wrist of Horan right this instant before giving him the most gruesome death in front of everyone else, but he understood it wasn't the time yet. He controlled himself, despite it being hard when such a hateful face was before his eyes. No one looks for death, yet death finds them. Death is the only thing which is inevitable in this world, Gabriel calmly stated. Who knows when death might find you as well? One should really be careful. Why are you threatening me? Horan pulled his hand back, roaring in rage. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm just saying that everyone has a limited lifespan. Why waste it on violence? He glanced at the blonde man. I'm not sure what this person behind me has done, but I'm sure he has already been punished enough. Who are you? The blonde man asked, frowning. You're not from the city. Do you think you can interfere in our matters? It doesn't matter who I am. I'm not from this city, you're right. I'm here to take part in the academy exams, and I'm sure the person behind me is here for the same reason, Gabriel responded. He had already noticed a similar badge on the chest of the man behind him. Do you really want to save him? Despite having no idea about who I am, you really want to play the hero, don't you? The blonde man asked. If you really want to save him, I'll give you an opportunity. Take that man's place and become our punching bag. We'll let you go. I'm afraid I'll have to decline. I'm afraid I'll have to insist. Jan brought out his staff of element of flame. Gabriel frowned. This man was really looking for a battle. Fortunately, Lyra had expected a situation like this as well. She had expected there to be a situation where Gabriel might need to use his strength to fight. Just for that, in the city of Abaddon, she had bought him a mid-tier staff of light and a book of spells of light to be used with his other elements, so he didn't have to use his necromancy in public. Along the journey, Gabriel studied up on the basic spells of light, even gaining a decent amount of mastery on them since he was already a talent prodigy of light. Even though the basic spells of light were nowhere close to the strength of his basic spells of necromancy, with high efficiency, even those spells weren't weak. Even though he was before a second-year academy student, he still had faith in himself. Last time on the cliff, he didn't have any spells of light, so he couldn't protect himself, but now things were different. I'm afraid I'll have to decline again. Gabriel raised his left hand, casting a spell above him. A formation appeared, which was storing his mid-tier staff of light. The staff came out from the formation, landing on Gabriel's hands. A mid-tier staff of light. Horan glared at the staff in jealousy. There were 6 tiers of staff. Novice tier, beginner tier, mid-tier, high tier, peak tier, and the strongest. The ancestral staff. Even he himself only had a beginner tier staff for now since mid-tier staff was so expensive. Seeing something like that in another person's hand, his jealousy knew no bounds. Young Master Jan, this kid is too arrogant. We need to teach him a lesson. Since he's flaunting his expensive staff, how about we take it from him after breaking his bones? Horan suggested. Since he was the only light mage in the group, he was sure that the staff was going to be given to him if they took it from Gabriel. He couldn't wait to get his hands on the staff. Gabriel knew that if Lyra were to find out that he got into conflict within hours of entering the city, she was going to be so stunned, especially since she told him to avoid unnecessary conflicts, yet he couldn't help himself. Now that he was already in this situation, he was prepared to go all out, even if it was against Jan. Moreover, this conflict also gave him an opportunity to openly attack Horan here without arousing too much suspicion about his real motives. He's certainly from a wealthy family, but today he'll learn how easily his wealth can be taken. We truly need to shatter this kid's arrogance, so he knows how to be within his limits from next time. Jan agreed. And who have you the right to teach people their limits? A calm voice came from behind the group. Everyone looked back, including Jan. Even Gabriel was surprised who it was. For a moment, everything went silent. The silence was only broken by a burst of hearty laughter. It was none other than Jan who burst into laughter. That crest on your chest. You're from that traitor Ashton family. Ha ha ha, you dare take a step in this city once again? Jan asked, pointing at the brown-haired man in the distance. You know it as well as I do which family was the real traitor. The young man answered. Even though his beautiful blue eyes appeared to be calm, there was a rage hiding behind them, being called a traitor. He had to face that word all his life. No matter where his family went, they were called traitors to the crown and the Holy Church of Light. All because of the Rainey family. My family got the blame for it. My father and everyone else were killed, all based on the accusations by your family. You think you told the right to call me a traitor while your family was the traitor all along? Nonsense. Such blatant accusations. No one will believe them. By the way, are you here for revenge because my family told the truth? Jan asked, amused. Look around, kid. There is no Ashton family left anymore. Your family was kicked out of the city, whatever remained of it anyway. Your noble title was taken away by the king himself. Ashton family might have had some influence in the city once upon a time, but not anymore. You don't hold any influence here. I can beat you to death this instant, and nothing will happen to me. On the other hand, try leaving a single scratch on me and see your fate. I'm not here to fight you, but if you do attack me, I do bear a right of self-defense, no matter who you are. The young boy from the Ashton family smiled. For some reason, that smile seemed really scary, as if it was the smile of the devil who really wanted them to attack so he could have an excuse to fight back. It seems I also have many witnesses here to know I attacked second. So why don't you go ahead, Jan? Jan bit his lips in rage, noticing the mark of light on the back of the young man's hand. If that's what you want, I'll oblige. He glanced at the other youngsters who were in his group. You take care of the kid in the back. I'll be right back after taking care of this traitor. 48 Chapter 48 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jan stood before Cain, holding his high-grade sword. Similarly, Cain also had a high-grade staff. Despite his family being kicked out of the royal city a long time ago and not having the same amount of wealth as before, he still had a decent grade staff. The high-grade staff of light was the last thing he had inherited from his father before his death. Cain's blood boiled as he watched Jan. If there was anyone he hated the most in the world, it was the Rainey family. 10 years ago, my father killed your father with his own hands, following his majesty's orders. It seems today I'll get the honor of finishing you. Like father, like son. Jan laughed. Even your high-grade staff can't help you before my spells, kid. Why don't you try and see for yourself? No matter how much Cain hated Jan, he knew he couldn't attack first. He needed Jan to attack him so he could have a justification for fighting back if he didn't want to be arrested here. That was also a reason why he interfered in the conflict, which had nothing to do with him, all to provoke Jan. He knew that hurting Jan wasn't going to be enough for the pain Rainy family made him go through, but it could be the beginning. The beginning of the storm which was yet to come. Jan also understood that Cain was provoking him yet didn't want to hold back. He believed he couldn't lose. He was a second-year mage at the academy, while Cain was just here to join the academy. He lightly tapped his staff on the ground, however, before he could even cast a spell, he heard a cry of pain as a figure flew past him, landing in the distance. Ha! Jan gazed at the figure, stunned. It was none other than Horan. His lips were bleeding, and he seemed to be in quite a bad condition. This made Jan turn around, finding another figure flying in his direction. This time it was the Mage of Wind who appeared to be flying uncontrollably in his direction. At the last moment, Jan dodged to the side, avoiding the person who flew past him to land on the ground. Even though Jan's battle hadn't begun yet, there was a battle that had. A battle which he hadn't expected to go like this. Gabriel had started attacking, and his attacks. They weren't weak at all. The spells, the control. Everything was impeccable. He didn't appear like a person who had just started learning magic. Seeing two of their friends being defeated that easily, the other youngsters were also taken aback. They all took a step back subconsciously. They had thought that Gabriel was also a weakling, yet he turned out to be much more. As the wind mage was sent flying, the young man who was being trapped in the chains of wind dropped to the ground, finally being free of the chains of restriction. The young man was just saved by Gabriel, but he was also in a daze at what he saw. In this city, he was thrashed, yet no one stepped forward to save him, not even guards. The only person who did was Gabriel. After seeing a similar badge of a newcomer on Gabriel's chest, the young man had assumed that Gabriel was also going to be hurt like him. It was only now he realized how wrong he was. Gabriel hadn't even used his element of death and necromancy, yet he was already at an advantage. Not only the youngsters but even Jan was amazed at how easily Gabriel had defeated two of his minions. Despite that, there was not even a frown on Gabriel's face, as if it was nothing concerning. Does this guy really not fear death, he wondered. Even Cain was amazed. He honestly didn't expect Gabriel to be so strong. He thought he would have to save him after dealing with Jan, yet the reality was different. That control, it's pretty good. Even Cain subconsciously complimented Gabriel. He was also a mage of light and understood that element better than anyone else here. He knew how hard it was to control such spells and the precision that was needed to master them. It seems there's another talent prodigy of light here. Cain believed it wasn't possible for Gabriel to learn spells like this with such precision at such a young age unless he was a talent prodigy. Since Gabriel looked only 20, his assumption made even more sense to him. Jan, you shouldn't let him have all the fun, should you? Attack me so I can also have some fun. Seeing Gabriel's spells, even Cain was itching to use his spells and get some exercise today. You. Jan could sense a mocking tone behind Cain's words. Infuriated, he decided to give Cain exactly what he needed. Then so be it. Jan raised his staff. Inferno. Young Master Jan, wait. Jan chanted a spell yet stopped in the middle as he heard someone call him. Who dares? He roared but calmed down as he realized it was one of the youngsters who worked for him. What? The royal carriage. It seems a royal is coming here. I don't think it's good for us to be fighting at this time. The guards won't interfere in the battle, but it won't be good if a royal saw us fighting in the middle of the street like this. A royal carriage. Jan grimaced. Even though his Rainy family was influential in the city, it wasn't the most influential in the city, and it wasn't even close to the royal family. Despite hating it, he could only decide to retreat at a time like this. He glared at Cain. You are lucky. Next time you won't be. I'm lucky. Cain let out a disappointed sigh. This was such a good opportunity for him, yet the royal just had to come at a time like this. Jan turned his back on Cain before glancing at Gabriel. "I'll remember you as well." He walked back to his own carriage along with his friends. Even Horan also stood up, wiping the blood from his lips. If his glares could kill, Gabriel would have already been dead 1,000 times by now. "You have made the biggest mistake of your life. You'll regret it," he declared a threat before running after Jan. All the youngsters entered the Rainey family carriage with Jan. This wasn't how they expected everything to end. Unfortunately, their luck didn't support them today. The royal family. Not for long. Jan muttered, glancing out the window as the carriage started moving. "Are you all right?" Gabriel reached out his hand toward the young man who was still lying on the ground. I am fine. Thank you for saving me." The youngster thanked Gabriel. "If you weren't here, I probably would have been hurt so bad that I couldn't have taken part in the trial tomorrow." He held Gabriel's hands using his right hand while holding his aching chest with his left as he stood up. "I should also thank him." "Ha! Where did he go?" After thanking Gabriel, the young man wanted to thank Cain as well. Unfortunately, Cain wasn't there anymore. He had disappeared as well, leaving them behind now that there wasn't anything for him to do here. Gabriel noticed the figure of Cain in the distance, walking away. He didn't even glance back as he left. Shaking his head, Gabriel shifted his attention back to the young man. "Why didn't you fight back? You have the element of earth. It's said to be a powerful element for defense and even for attack. Why did you take the beating?" he asked, noticing the mark of earth in the hands of the young man. "This mark." The young man flashed a weak smile. "This mark is useless for now since I don't have any spells. That's also a reason I came here to join the academy, so I can learn some spells and become strong enough to protect myself one day." Hearing the explanation of the young man, Gabriel really found it to be strange. The man. He was really too similar to the old him. When he was killed, he had the element of light but had no spells. This man, on the other hand, had the element of earth yet no spells. Both of them were hurt by Horan. Both faced the chains of winds. The similarities were uncanny. As Gabriel marveled at the similarities, the royal carriage finally reached this place and stopped not too far. The door of the carriage opened. 49 Chapter 49 You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Lumen family, also known as the royal family of the Kingdom of Light, was the most powerful family in the land which ruled over the entire kingdom. If there was anyone who held the highest authority in the kingdom after leaders of churches of elements, it was the king himself. Since churches didn't often involve themselves in outside matters much, the king effectively held all the control. Moreover, even though the Church of Light was the most influential in the land, that didn't mean the royal family didn't have any influence on the Church of Light. Throughout the years, many of the head priests of the Church of Light were from the Lumen family itself. Moreover, the second last head of the Church of Light also came from the Lumen family. After his death, the family's influence did weaken by a significant amount but not too much. Even now, the Lumen family had two head priests in the Church of Light, one being the uncle of the current king and the second being the king's sister, both being highly talented mages of light. The Lumen family was still the strongest faction in the Church of Light. That's why even other great families of the city treaded carefully before the royal family, despite having many conflicts throughout the years. The royal carriage stopped near one of the shops, barely 5 meters away from Gabriel. The door was opened by the carriage driver, who stepped back after opening the door. Gabriel gazed at the carriage, curious who it was. It was his first time seeing someone from the royal family he had heard a lot about in the past. Princess Elia. The young man behind Gabriel let out, noticing a graceful figure coming out of the carriage. Gabriel also saw the young blonde girl, seemingly in her early 20s. The girl appeared to be wearing a long yet beautiful black gown that covered her entire body. Other than her face, not even a single inch of her skin was visible. Most of her arms were covered by the long sleeves of the gown. Even her hands were covered by the white gloves she was wearing. The young girl was accompanied by 2 maids. The maids walked to the shop before her, opening the doors for her. The young girl disappeared from everyone's view, entering the building. "You know her?" Gabriel asked the young man behind him. "Aren't you new here as well?" "I am new here, but I'm not stupid. There is only one girl in the Lumen family of her age, and it's Princess Elia. So it's common sense who she is," the young man answered. "Before this, I had only heard stories about her beauty. It's only now I'm seeing her from my own eyes, and I must say, those stories don't do her justice. She is much more beautiful than the stories, don't you think?" Gabriel rolled his eyes in response. "Focus more on your strength than girls. Girls won't come to save you the next time you're being thrashed." "I doubt I will." The young man scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. "By the way, who was the other guy? Do you know anything about him?" "The Ashton guy." "Oh, him. I've done a lot of research on this city in the time I've been here, so I do know a few things about it, but I'm not sure I should talk about that here. It's not a good history. I doubt you'll be arrested for telling history. Tell me who he was." Gabriel was going to enter the academy, and he was sure that this guy was going to be here as well. He wanted to know as much as he could about people who had any influence in this city. He understood that to execute a plan, he needed a better understanding of the city, so there were no unexpected factors at play. "Ah, if you say so." The young man couldn't refuse Gabriel. Gabriel had saved him. He owed Gabriel a favor, so this was the least he could do. "As you know, many families hold great influence in the city. They are the city's wealthiest families and also hold some influence or contacts in the Church of the Light." "Yeah, I heard about the Zoan family and the Rainey family." "Exactly." The young man nodded. "Those 2 families hold great influence in the city, but those 2 aren't the only ones. There are more families like that. Once upon a time, Ashton family also used to be one of them. In fact, many argue that it was the most influential after the royal family itself. The head of the Ashton family was Lord Veen. He was said to be the most talented head priest in the Church of Light and also the youngest to be promoted to that post. From what I know, Veen only had one son, Cain. If I'm not wrong, that son was the one who we just saw. Anyway, during Veen's time, the Ashton family held great influence and reputation. Moreover, it was also rumored that Veen was so talented that there was no way he wasn't going to be selected as the next head of the Church of Light by the Holy Grimoire. Everything was going so great that no one could have expected what was going to happen next. The Rainey family came out with an accusation one day that the Ashton family was selling the secret information of the Church of Light, leaking it to other churches and the enemies of churches. That's when the Ashton family started losing everything. They lost their wealth, they lost their name, and they lost their reputation. Most of the members of the Ashton family were executed for this treachery. Only women and children were left alive, but they were also banished from the royal city for 10 years as a punishment. That's why the Rainey family and the Ashton family have such a grudge between them. They have bad blood over the past. Is it that easy to get someone kicked out? Gabriel frowned. He had carefully observed Cain when he was here. The way Cain behaved, his words, it didn't feel like he believed that his family was traitors. Were they really one? Well, when another church member confirms that Veen was selling them secrets, does that even leave any room for doubt? What? Yep. According to the story, after the accusations came out, the Church of Light started investigating. They directly asked the church in question, sending an envoy to the Church of Nature where they got confirmation that Veen sold them information. After that, the betrayal charges were confirmed, so I don't think it's just baseless accusations by the Rainey family which brought this outcome. That doesn't make sense. Gabriel gazed at the distant moon. If your story is true, then I'm sure the Ashton family didn't betray anyone. And how can you say that? I mean, look at the bigger picture. If you were the Church of Nature, and you had a spy in the Church of Light, would you really accept that and lose that spy? Or would you lie about having any relationship with him so he could keep working there and leaking secrets to you? Gabriel summarized. If that guy were really working for the Church of Nature, they would never accept it, since that would be just stupid. This. Your words. Even the young man was stunned. The words made sense. Why would the Church of Nature accept it this easily? Why would they give up their golden eggs-laying hen? But why would the Church of Nature lie then? What did they get from lying other than some bad name about using a spy? Didn't you say Veen was one of the most talented head priests? If with one lie, they could take out such a talented member of your opposition, why wouldn't you lie? Gabriel let out, walking to his horse. The young man followed behind him. If I'm not wrong, the Rainey family worked hand in hand with the Church of Nature to take out the Ashton family. Rainey family took out a potential opponent in the form of the Ashton family and even got some of their property after the Ashtons were kicked out. On the other hand, the Church of Nature weakened the Church of Light, even if by a little. It was a win-win situation for both of them, he further added. The only ones who lost in the trap were the Ashton family and the Holy Church of Light. Then again, it's none of my concern. Past is past. Don't mention this with anyone. If the Rainey family finds out that you know the truth, you'll be killed next. You understand? Gabriel climbed on the horse. The young man gulped down, sweating. I will keep my mouth shut. That would be for the best. Gabriel started leaving. Wait, what is your name? The young man called out, just realizing he didn't even know Gabriel's name. I'm Carrick, Gabriel responded before leaving. I am Zale. Thank you once again. Zale yelled, making sure Gabriel heard him. Gabriel didn't react, disappearing into the crowd of people. Gabriel reached a hotel, giving his horse to a caretaker along with some money. He went straight to the receptionist and asked him for a room. Even the receptionist was kind to Gabriel, since he really looked like a wealthy individual. Gabriel also didn't disappoint the receptionist and booked the most expensive room. He was only here for a short week and didn't lack money, thanks to Lyra. The receptionist wrote the name of Gabriel and the number of his temporary badge before giving him the key with a fawning smile while addressing him as young master. Gabriel went straight to his room, instantly going for the shower after taking his clothes off. He still didn't remove his right glove, not intending to take the risk for now. He even returned to his real form and his old self. He turned on the shower, letting water drench him. This city. It's more complicated than I thought. The relationships between the families. The conflicts. I jumped in one of those conflicts today, it seems. But I can use it to my advantage. Gabriel talked to himself as cold droplets of water rained over his warm skin. Jan Rainey, Kane Ashton. Things will certainly be interesting around here. If I needed a distraction, those two would fit right in. I'll need to get close to at least one of them for that. If I get close to Jan, I'll be in close proximity to Horan as well, which should make my revenge easier, but controlling him would be hard. Jan is very arrogant and also hates me. Gabriel glanced at his reflection in the mirror as water trickled down his body. That only leaves one person. Kane Ashton. 50 Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finishing his shower, Gabriel came out and got dressed again, wearing the attire he had received with the ancestral staff. The attire didn't just work to make him look good, but it also hid his aura just like his gloves did, making it easier for him to mix around. At least as long as he wasn't using his element for a spell. When he did, even his attire couldn't hide his aura, especially his dark aura. Gabriel walked to the balcony. Since he had taken the most expensive room in the hotel, it also came with many luxuries. He had received a room on the top floor which had the best view of the city. With his hands behind his back, Gabriel gazed at the moon. The moon is the same as it was that day, yet everything about it is different. The beauty. It can't be seen anymore. It looks ordinary. It was said that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Unfortunately, Gabriel went through so much that something about him had changed. The same moon, which was the prettiest thing for him in the past, appeared like a very ordinary thing now. After a brief observation, Gabriel walked back inside the room, closing the balcony door. Tomorrow was going to be a big day, and he needed to get up early to finish the last bit of preparation. It was already 4 p.m. when he went to the massive king-sized bed, covering his cold body inside the soft blanket. Even as he laid in the bed, waiting for sleep, his mind kept thinking about thousands of things regarding the day that was to come. The ring had a timer of 7 days, and the timer had started already. He didn't have much time to do reconnaissance and execute the mission while attending classes. That's why he needed help to make sure things moved smoothly, and he understood it. He had already started shortlisting the people he was going to get close to. He wanted to execute his mission softly, even if it meant using others, and he knew who those people were going to be. Zale is a very naive boy with a weak worldview. He is exactly how I used to be. That makes me understand him even more. He should be easier to sway. He can handle minor things to keep me safe. However, that is only if he can pass through the entrance exams. I'm not sure if he's capable enough for that since he doesn't know any spells. It'll depend on what the exams are. It'll be good if he gets through. If he doesn't, I'll have to find someone else. That leaves a distraction which Cain will take care of. Now what's left is getting close to them and winning their trust. Throughout the night, Gabriel kept thinking about how he could win the trust of the people around him. Lyra had left the entire responsibility of the plan on Gabriel's shoulders since only he could know what the current circumstances inside the academy were. Still, she did give him some ideas on what he could do, and one of those ideas was about using others. Throughout the night, Gabriel planned every single part of the day that was to come, taking into consideration all the things that could go wrong, so he wasn't unprepared. By the time he fell asleep, it was already 6 a.m. The world is burning. And it's all because of you. You betrayed us. You shouldn't have. You'll suffer the consequences. You'll be damned for an eternity. You are a demon. How could you be so? We can't let you go. You have sinned. Many strange voices echoed in the surroundings as if there were people surrounding Gabriel from all sides. Everything was so dark that it was impossible to see anything. He couldn't even see where he was. It appeared as if he was floating in the air amidst this darkness. The voices he heard. It was the first time he heard these voices. They didn't match the voices of anyone he had seen before. These voices weren't like the voices of the screeching spirits, yet they weren't like voices of humans either. There was just something really surreal about these voices. Gabriel tried opening his lips to speak something. Unfortunately, he couldn't speak anything. His lips moved, yet no words came out of them. As if the strange phenomenon of not being able to speak wasn't enough, Gabriel started feeling a terrifying chest pain. It was as if his heart was going to explode. He even felt the stabbing of thousands of pins all around his body. At the same time, it was as if all the air was sucked from his surroundings, leaving him gasping for breath. Thump thump, the pain in his heart continued. Thump thump thump, no BDNV. Gabriel opened his eyes, sitting abruptly. His entire body was covered in sweat. His heart was racing. Fortunately, there was no pain in his heart. His breathing was heavy, but there was a look of relief on his face as he noticed that he was in his room. A nightmare. Thump. 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 There was still that thumping. However, it wasn't coming from his heart. It was as if someone was hitting his door from the outside. Letting out a long sigh of relief, Gabriel got off the bed, still confused about what kind of stupid dream he saw. He walked to the door and opened it. Yeah. Sir, thank God you're up. Why? You left the instructions at the desk for us to wake you up on time. That's what I was doing. Didn't I tell you to wake me up at 10? Surely it can't be 10. It's 11. The young waiter scratched the back of his head. I've been knocking on the door for an hour. You really should hurry if you don't want to be late for the exams. 11. Gabriel exclaimed. He felt as if he had only slept an hour. How was it 11 already? He didn't want to fail the mission because he had overslept. The trials were supposed to start at 12. He dashed back to the bed and picked up the golden book that had the basic spells of light before running out. He couldn't be late at any condition because being late was grounds for immediate disqualification before even being selected. Even if someone was just 1 minute late. He collected his horse as fast as he could before departing. The horse raced through the streets, carrying Gabriel, almost hitting some commoners who were about to cross the road. Fortunately, a crash was avoided. Even then, Gabriel didn't slow down. Right at the heart of the royal city, there stood the gigantic Academy of Elements. The Academy premises covered thousands of kilometers square of area as if it was a city of its own within the royal city itself. There were multiple buildings within the Academy of Elements as each element was given a castle-like building of their own where they were to be taught. The entire academy was surrounded by 1,000 feet tall wall from all sides. Many spells were carved on the walls to make sure no one could enter the academy uninvited, that was especially the case for mages of winds who could fly. All the formations that were carved on the boundary wall worked to stop any infiltration that wasn't through the main entrance. Even if one could fly, they couldn't pass through the wall, despite it only being 1,000 feet tall. The only way to enter the academy was through the main gates that were made from the strongest of metals, further reinforced by magic. At the moment, the doors of the academy were open, allowing everyone who was here to participate in the academy selection exams to enter. As for the crowd of participants, it wasn't any less either. There appeared to be thousands of youngsters here already, still waiting to enter. Multiple teachers of the academy were also present to make sure everything went smoothly. The academy selection wasn't a small matter after all, since many of these kids were going to become mages who possessed a great amount of strength, and they could even become the next head of a holy church. So, what do you think? Anyone worth keeping an eye on? Two teachers stood side by side, watching the students enter the academy. One had the mark of earth while the other had the mark of wind. There are certainly a few interesting candidates this year if I were to purely judge from their auras. A few of them also share my element of earth, so I'm really optimistic. I hope there are some talented mages of winds as well. I don't want our house of wind to rank near the bottom again. Stop exaggerating. You weren't last. Your house was second last. I should be embarrassed since my house of earth was last in the rankings. Hopefully, the new year and new students will bring some new luck. I hope the same, man. I don't expect to defeat the top houses. I at least don't want to be last. It's already embarrassing as it is. The Mage of Wind smiled wryly. The Mage of Earth laughed, agreeing with his friend. However, his laughter changed to a frown. That's strange. He gazed into the distance. What is it? The newest arrival. That student in the back. Everyone here has an aura, weak or strong. It's just him I can't feel any aura from.